nothing more humbling than having to do the same thing every day, over and over again. But it takes discipline to stay on top of your game and avoid the chaos that comes without it. If you ever find yourself lacking that discipline, remember, it only takes one step to begin a movement.
In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks that I use to film myself, and that I think that if you're someone who's looking to film yourself, whether you're a musician, artist, actor, you might want to incorporate in your content or in your videos that you'll be making moving forward. So when it comes to filming in general, one of the many things that I think about is always, what's the story? So the first thing that I like to ask anybody who gives me a script, or whether it be a director, or if we're doing like a corporate is always tricky because usually they don't know what they want, so you have to be the voice of expertise. But the first step is always, what's the point of the video? What are we trying to say? What are we trying to show? What is it? Because essentially the way you want to think about a camera is, it's a computer. It's a computer that's used to capture information. So the question is, what information are we trying to capture? Sometimes you want to capture everything, but sometimes there's things we don't want to show. We determine what's in frame. So that's the first step, is what story are you telling? Once you understand that, then it becomes about positioning. So the first step for me, when it comes to, let's say I want to make a little short film in the house by myself, is to clean up the house, because I don't want people to see the messiness. So usually there's no time to clean up. Maybe we'll clean up on the weekend, stuff like that. But the main thing is, you want to clean up your space so that you show people what you want them to see, not everything. Unless you're making a documentary about your life, even in that, you also determine what goes in frame. And in editing, you also determine what people see. So in most of these things, there are no mistakes. I think one of the challenges that rose with the rise of TikTok and stuff like that is a lot of people got into the industry. A lot of people got into this and started doing what they thought was right and oversharing, just because of the content that was created prior to social media, where we felt as if they were telling us the truth, but we realized it wasn't, especially with the rise of the Kardashians. We will not get into that debate. But that's the first thing that I'll think about. And then the second thing that I think about is, what are the resources? What are the tools that you have? Do you have a camera? If you don't have a camera, that's all right. There's a camera that you're always with. I'm with mine right now. It's right here, your mobile phone. So if that's all you have, that's awesome. Take it, pick it up, find a place to put it. You can put it on a book. You can put it on somewhere, just to be able to know that you have something that's capturing the information. I used to debate in my class. People would say, oh, the camera is not important. The camera is fundamentally almost the most important aspect of this, because we can have the most amazing set design, the most clean house, but if we have nothing to capture, then we all have shite. So you want to have a decent camera, you want to have it, but don't let not having a great camera stop you from shooting. And then you want to look at the resources, what type of lenses and things like that. The third thing you want to think about is your composition. So by composition, what this means is, you want to think about your frame. You want to think about your lighting. You want to think about your blocking. By blocking is just the positioning of your subject. So your subject can be you, can be your friends, can be anybody. So you want to think about all these things. These help you then in terms of staging, how you're going to stage the entire thing. Remember, when you say you want to clean up your house, you don't necessarily have to clean it all up. You just have to clean the space that you plan on showing in this thing. And then once you've decided upon that this is what I'm going to do, the next step then becomes about finding the frame. So we're still in composition. It's about finding the frame. And by finding the frame, what this means is, what are your frame guidelines? What is in your frame? Where is your subject? Where is what's around them? Do you want to show a couch? Do you want to show a table? Do you want to show this? That's the frame. But in the frame, what are you saying? Where's the person? And then once you figure that out, it becomes about lighting. So it's lighting the frame, making sure that the camera captures the information. So with lighting comes in almost, I want to say it's one of the most important, but you have to think about it in like 3 phases. The first phase is what's the tone. So lighting almost determines the tonality of your video. So if you find that on YouTube, if you go on a lot of YouTuber pages, YouTube tends to be very bright. Like a lot of times it's front facing light. Like some people will talk about, oh, shoot from shadow side, but even with their shadow side, there is one thing that you learn, especially on most of those videos, is 3-point lighting. So with 3-point lighting, basically you have a key light, you have a hair light, and then you have a fill light. What fill does, it takes away shadows, and that's something that I've noticed on YouTube. On YouTube, people don't like shadows, and I get it because that's associated with film, and YouTube is more of a home video type of feel, and that's okay if that's the style and tone that you're going for. But you have to be intentional about it. A lot of times I feel like we just do it because that's what's up, you know. And sometimes if you don't have lights, that's also okay because you just go with what's in your house. And usually with what's in your house with overhead lights and light bouncing all over, you end up with a different type of picture that you have. So remember, the goal is what do you want your camera to capture? So the importance of lighting is that. So the camera, basically what happens is the camera is capturing light, right? So that's what it's transforming into the image that it sees in different colors. So in terms of tone, when I said about tone, is what mood, what do you want the audience to feel, and what does it say about you? What are you trying to express to the people? So for me, I like this moody type of thing. Like I like it. That's what I like. So I express myself through that. So for you, totally do what you want to do. The second thing you want to think about with lighting is your exposure. So does the camera see? So some, you know how like in movies you see those dimly lit. Remember Game of Thrones? Yeah, that final sequence with the Night King where we couldn't see anything. Trust me, they had more lights there, but that's not how it came out. And in instances like that, if that's the mood that you're going for, what you want to make sure is the camera has information so that in post you can do that, because you can bring down lights in post, which is also a hassle, but like, you know, if that's the mood you're going for. So what you want to make sure is the camera sees information. So you don't want to be super underexposed to the point that your camera cannot see you. That's useless in post. And then the other thing is you don't want to overexpose your image to whereby you're burning the image. So if you overexpose to the point of your highlights are clipping, everything is gone beyond, no one will be able to see you. So how you know? Usually on your camera there are zebras. So if you turn on the zebras, what they're good for is they help you with overexposure. So I like to set my zebras at 75%. So once we are hitting that 75% IRE, the zebras pop up and I know that I'm almost getting overexposed. It's time to watch out. You don't want to put it 100% because then it's too late. So you never want your image to be at 100% white or 0% black, because then you're crashing and it just creates nonsense. And so the third thing that you want to think about is how to maintain that tonality. So once you have your tone, it's just about creating the ambience, and then that brings up enough information for the camera to capture, you know. So those are the things that you want to think about when it comes to lighting, and you are just lighting what's being seen by your camera. You don't have to light the entire space. So there's this thing that people are speaking about, if you've been online, where they speak about light for spaces, not for faces. That is valid, but what you want to think about in instances about that, like light for spaces, not for faces. What's the space that's in camera? So if you're shooting an entire scene, like a short film or music video where you're showing the entire room, then in that case, you want to light the entire room to a whereby you can move the light when need be. And then if you're just lighting like in this small corner that I'm in, you're just lighting the space. So I don't have to worry about the entire room. It doesn't really matter to me. Something that I like to do, have a practical light and just have it showing so that when I put my key light, then there's a source of it. So in order to light this scene, what I'm thinking is I want light from outside coming in, highlighting that moonlight. To do that, I'll use with a blue gel on it. And then one of my favorite things is to turn off the lights. An additional thing that I might add is atmospherics. So right now, I don't know if it's still visible, but I was experimenting. I just got a fog machine, and it just creates a different type of mood. This is used in a lot of movies just to create that texture. You can get Pro Mist filters. I have a Pro Mist filter that's stuck on my lens. Please do not get the cheap ones. Like, it's like sometimes I just think of breaking it, but it's there. It's fine. What a Pro Mist filter does. So because our lenses that I'm using, these are sharp lenses used for images, right? So if you want to take away that digital artifact that these lenses do, you then do that. Or you can use your fog machine, smoke machine, stuff like that, just to create a little bit of atmospherics. And then for bonus tips, what you want to think about is the colors in your frame. So you see, what happens is there are a lot of ways to make a picture more interesting. So you want to think about what you are wearing. You want to think about the environment that you're in. What you want to think about is, how can I express myself? How can I create contrast with lights? So right now I have a warm light, I have a cold light coming from outside, and they create like a color contrast. And in terms of clothes, I have a brown table, I have a black t-shirt, I'm a brown guy, and then we have what we have in the back. And all that is there to create something and giving people information. Because one thing that happens with the human eye, we're constantly looking whilst we're not, right? We just want to see and understand that, and we want it to be pleasing to the eye. So constantly think about the colors that are in your frame and how those can be used to tell a different story, you know. And in terms of tools, the tools that you need to really film yourself, to be honest, you just need two. You need your camera and a tripod. A camera is important, especially with ones with autofocus. Then you don't necessarily have to worry about focus. But if you have a manual focus, then there are tricks that you can use. One is to use like something in your place and then place the focus and then go stand there. But then the tricky part is you can't really move, because if you move, you go out of focus unless you have someone there to help you with focus. So, but if you have an autofocus camera, like the Sonys are very good at this. That's why I love Sony. But most cameras are getting great at it as well. So like, you don't really have to worry about that. The trick that I just recently learned from Danny Gavitz is use a light stand in the place where your subject is going to be, and then focus on that. I don't know if would you guys say I'm in focus? Like, I think that's one of the hardest parts about filming yourself is knowing when you're in focus and when you're not. And you need a lens, you know, my favorite lens is the 35 and 75. With the 75, the framing is a little bit hard because any sudden movement, then you're out of frame. But at 35, you can do whatever you want. You can move, you can do this, but you're always in frame. But what you want to think about, which is something that comes with experience and also with just understanding framing, is how things that are closer to the camera always look bigger. Things that are further look smaller. So you want to think about that and what that translates like to the people. And then camera angles and stuff like that, that's your choice. You have massive choices. So those are the two things you really need. Unless you have dialogue, then you need something for your audio. I record through the Roadcaster podcast because I have a podcast. So I'm like, I might as well just use it. And then on top of the camera, I have a Rode mic, which also gets me. And yeah, those are my few things. But yeah, so next time that you want to film yourself, these are some of the things that you can think about. This is one way I would do it. Just remember, it's all about the story, the thing that people relate to the most. You don't need a lot. I have two lights running. I have the Amaran 100X and the GVM light outside, and then it's just the two cameras rolling. But you don't even need that much. I'm just doing this to be able to show what it would be like. The main things that you want to think about is, one, what's the story? Two, what are you trying to convey? Like, how does your frame and lighting situation tell the story to the best of your abilities? Three, your framing, your composition. Four, sound and stuff like that. But I think the main thing about telling a story is always bear in mind what it is you want the audience to feel in that moment and in this moment. I think for me, this would work as a thriller type of thing, as
memory as someone who's going through something. I think a key component to a lot of things that I've realized in cinema is these things, practical lights. They help I justify those things, which is the light that you're actually using in the shot, and they just help the mind at ease, put the mind at ease of what's happening in this situation. And then atmosphere, something that I don't really use because our smoke detectors in this house are ridiculously good. So it's like, I don't use it at all unless I'm in a space where there's none of that, and I'm hoping it doesn't go off any second now. But yeah, other than that, man, I would say don't complicate it, keep it simple. Always remember, what's the story? What are you trying to say to the audience, to the people watching? What are you trying to express? Sometimes it's just filming for the sake of filming, and that's okay, as long as you're 100% sure that I'm actually liking this little haze that's coming through from this light because of the smoke. I might start using smoke a lot. It's pretty cool. But yeah, this is how I'll do it.